First time
Can you hear
lucky.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Have you been trying to add me for a while again, have you?
Probably about a minute, which is okay.
Okay, that's better than normal. So I carry on talking. I'm just going to invite a couple of people. So you carry on and I'll join in the
go ahead. So we're talking about. I've got a few people here that I feel really need to listen to this in terms of how to deal with the stresses in your life. And part of what goes on in our life, there comes a stage where we can actually just grab things by its head and just deal with it. And what I mean by that is just accepting where you are and not trying to reject, not trying to judge, not trying to run away from where you are, just accept where you are. And I think when we can start to do that as the first stage of handling stress, it really does help you then start to work out, what is the next plan? How can you start to come out of this situation you're in, whether it's overload or overwhelm, or whether it's health situation that's causing you stress. Hey Pushpa, all the way from Australia, how are you? So it's really understanding and accepting where you are so that you can start to find the next steps in how you can recover and regain your mindset, your emotional stability, your physical health. And today, myself and Chris are going to talk about some steps on how you can start to make that happen. So do you have anything to add on there, Chris?
I wasn't listening, I'll be honest. Ask me the question again. So I was just sharing some stuff on the other computer.
Yeah, the question is, so in my own experience as well, when I've been through the situation of burnout, and when the hormones have gone crazy and you've got nutrition deficiencies and you've got things hitting you from so many directions and you're feeling tearful, unhappy. For me, the best thing that I ever did was start to just accept where I was and not run away from where I was. Because when I accepted where I was, I could then start to deal with it rather than trying to run away from it.
And I think that's the thing with anxiety, is that it's people feeling it. They have a fear of the fear, as it were, and so they often suppress it. They often try and deny it, or push it away. And as you say, it's because they're so. Let's say if someone suffers from panic attacks, they're so scared of having a panic attack, fear of the fear, that they just want to try and deny it, push it away, and not even think about it. But as you say, when you can acknowledge exactly where you're at, what's going on in your life, what stress is happening, you can then make the change. Because until you acknowledge where you're at, it's like looking on a map. You have to, I was going to say, no one probably looks at the A to Z anymore, but you open your Google Maps and you have to know where you are to know where you're going to go. I'm often, so a thing I often do is go off to Kent with the dog, start wandering around aimlessly, exploring, and then I have to get my Google Maps out to try and find out where I am to get the nearest train home. It's a bit like that with your emotions. First step is to acknowledge where you are. And then it's about what can you do to change it. And so, yes, as you say, acknowledge where you are. And again, not just mentally, not just what your thoughts are, but what your feelings are. What feelings are you? What's going on in your life to cause you to choose to feel that way? What pictures are you making? All the things we covered in previous conversations.
Yeah. One of the questions I get a lot from people is, people will say to me, "Oh, I need to sleep a lot. I just need to sleep a lot." And that's the body saying rest. Okay. And if you're feeling that way, trust me, you are not lazy. Okay. You really have to listen to your body. And if your body's saying, "I need rest," you need to get that rest. That's a really important part, because rest is when the body heals, okay? And rest can be meditation, rest can be sleep, rest can be, lying in a hot bath, warm bath with some essential oils. Rest can be many things. So, one of my tips will be, if you need rest, if you need that extra sleep, take it, because the quicker you do it, the quicker you're going to help your body recover.
Absolutely.
So
and there's
go ahead.
Yeah, there's many. Sorry, yeah, I was going to say there's many times where your mind is processing. So, for example, if you've done any kind of deep work, or you've been doing any kind of meditation, or self-help stuff, working on that, then very often when you've let go of a lot of tension, that often makes you become very tired. And I sometimes have people, especially the clients that go 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 go. They're like, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit tired after this session. Maybe I should grab myself a Starbucks, and then I can power through." It's like, no. Your body needs to heal, regenerate. You need to take some time and rest. And you can't always do that, okay, if you've got to get to work and things like that. But it is, you can't do it there and then. You make sure you schedule it, because we're not, keeping yourself in this kind of constant up state is not good, as we talked about in previous conversations. That rest and recuperation is incredibly important for the body to heal.
Yeah. What would you say another tip is that people can start to do?
So one more time, you broke up there.
What would be another tip that you would say from an emotional part that people can do?
So many, really. I mean, one of the ones that I find incredibly useful for just changing how you feel in the moment, for just letting go of that stress. Literally, I mean, even just before now, I was on a Skype with a client, and we were doing this process, and I will show you in a minute. I'm not going to sell into anything. I'll teach you the process in a second. And afterwards, the person's just going, that thing that was, at a 10, terrifying, scary 5 minutes ago. Now I'm laughing at myself for even feeling that way. And it can completely just change your associations. And there's variations on this, but one of the ones I really like is self-touch. It's what may be known by some as havening. Havening in itself is a variant on it uses elements of the tapping and elements of what's called EMDR, eye movement processes. And all you do you want me to actually talk you through it?
Yeah, please do.
So actually demonstrate it. Yeah. So I might need to take my.
I'm going to do some havening now. Please feel free to join us, everyone. Do some havening.
All you do is focus on what's bothering you. So focus, and again, let's not do big traumas at this stage. That probably requires a bit more in depth work. But something that you're putting yourself in the future, and you're worrying about, feeling anxious about, concerned. And just notice that. Notice what you picture, what you feel, what you say to yourself in your head. And as you focus on that, 0 to 10, how strong is it right now? Okay, and you just acknowledge that. God, you don't have to say it, but you can do.
Okay, I would say it's a 6.
Oh, 6. Okay, so focus on that. It's probably easier, actually, if I teach you. And all I want you to do is take the palms of your hands. Now, for anyone who has children, they'll know how to do this. Just imagine how it was when you were a child and you were stroking yourself to sleep. And that's all you do. It's just come across and down. Now, for those of you wearing makeup, this might mess up the makeup, but you can always reapply it afterwards. And that's all you do. And all you do is stay with the emotions for a few minutes and just do that. And as you do, just take a deep breath in and keep doing that.
It actually does feel good.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It actually does.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And just keep doing that for a few minutes. And just take a deep breath in. Now, there's other parts to the traditional havening, but this self-touch is a very good one. So we'll just do that for now. And it tends, for those of you who have done the tapping, and I can teach the tapping later, that this has a slightly different effect, similar but different. This is better for when you feel you're on your own, when you don't feel nurtured, because whether someone's doing it to you or doing it to yourself, it's bringing out the same chemical reaction, the same endorphins, whatever you call it, the same nurturing hormones. And so if you just check in with yourself now,
right?
It is really exactly that. And it's, you know, and the other variation is, or there's a couple. One, you just do this with your hands. And again, but like you were doing, like you were stroking a puppy or like it was a Tai Chi move, not like you're doing.
Yeah.
When I often get people to do this and they're stressed, they'll try and do it too fast. So just breathe in and just really allow yourself to feel the feeling. Feel your fingers, feel the feelings.
Yeah.
And so where are you now, 0 to 10?
Does it feel? I'm thinking about it now. The number 1 just came up. Yeah.
Okay, so just focus on whatever's left.
Yeah.
Focus on wherever you're still feeling it, and just keep doing that. And then the final one of them is a similar variation. And you know, we used to do this at high school as a joke, but actually, that if you go up and down, like you're hugging yourself, like you're hugging someone, and again, if you focus on sort of nurturing feelings, that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And really, all it is the mind's inability to feel 2 emotions at once. So if you're feeling nurtured while trying to focus on feeling out of control or stress, the mind doesn't really know what to do with that. And so whichever one's more powerful will tend to win out. So, and for anyone at home doing it, just keep going. That's all you need to do. Just go across and down. You can use the palms of your hands.
Yeah.
The other one you can do is use the backs of your hands as well, which isn't traditionally done in any form that I've seen, but it does work very well. Certainly if you were used to having that with loved ones or anyone who cared about you. So that's another way of doing it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
So where are you right now?
You guys out there are feeling this if you're doing this with us.
Yeah. Did anyone join in? And I can't see comments actually. So obviously when it's on yours, I can't see the comments.
Right, so I'm going to check my comments.
You have to tell me.
Yeah. I will check my comments. Do all the things of love and kindness. True, right, Kira? Do things with true love. I mean, you know, for me, when I was doing this, I just felt like I was being kind to myself, and you know, just allowing myself just to you know, just touch him and just, you know, all the nervous system. You know, we were talking about the nervous system last week, and you know, we were saying all the nerves feel right, and the more we start to get in connection with ourselves, is part of, you know, when I'm working with someone, and it's a stress-related issue. Yeah, Pushpa loved it. She said it felt good. Keep doing it, Pushpa.
Oh, fantastic.
You know, I talked to them about grounding themselves. You know, you need to start to re-ground yourself and build that foundation strong again. And you know, when we nourishing, touching ourselves and nourishing ourselves in this manner, it really just brings back that those feelings of feeling kind and loved. So great, that's a great tip. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I mean, and it just a simple switch in your focus determines on the meaning you're giving it. You know, if that presentation you had to do or that deadline is suddenly approached, when you suddenly put yourself into a more connected, loving way, it's not going to be as overwhelming, as daunting, as fearful, because so much of you know, how we feel is the horror movie we paint in our minds for things that haven't even happened yet. We're just projecting out into the future the worst case scenario. You were going to say something there. You had a smile then.
No, I was just stroking my hands.
Yes. This, I mean, so obviously a lot of, you know, I do a lot of work with sort of fear of flying and things like that. And obviously there are techniques to completely remove it in the past anyway, so you don't need to do anything, you just feel good. But obviously if people have the certain techniques you might not want to do in public, but this one, because you can just literally put your hand in your lap and no one can see it, so it's a very good one to do if you're in a public place starting to feel nervous. So.
Yeah, great tip. And so just on grounding, grounding yourself. Obviously, breathing helps us just go inside and we ground ourselves. But I wanted to talk a little bit about food, if that's okay, and using foods to ground yourself. So one of the things that, and I talk a lot from my own personal experience, as well as working with people with adrenal stress issues, is that when you are in that condition, the most important thing that you want to do is you want to support your digestion. And I used to be a big raw foodie over a decade ago, until I had my crash. And I still tried to be a raw foodie, but what I found that I was getting less and less and less energy. And if there's a couple of tips that I can give you about what to eat when you are in this condition of very low energy, is to eat foods that are easy to digest. So things like warming soups or warming foods will really start to help your digestive system break down those nutrients in a better way. But also, when you're eating cold and undigested food, or sorry, not undigested, or raw foods, your body's having to work harder to actually start to break this food down. So even when it comes down to juices, raw juices, if you're in that state of adrenal stress or chronic fatigue, juices are great, but they shouldn't be a predominant part of your nutrition, because in Ayurvedic terms, they're too cooling, okay? And what your body tends to need when you're in that state is heat. And that heat comes from cooking. I used to be so against cooking way back. And my recovery happened when I actually went back to accepting food needed to be cooked for me. Food needed to be cooked for me to be able to digest and absorb it better. So, one of the things I would say to you,
you were right the first time.
Think about. Sorry? Say that again?
So we're on a delay. I just said you were right the first time. You just want a chef to cook for you. I was just going to make a joke there, but sorry, go on.
No, do you know what? Actually, I quite enjoy cooking. My family might not think.
That's good. Come over.
I do. Come on, I'm an Indian, right? What Indian does not like cooking and enjoy eating Indian food? I've got some amazing friends out there. Marla, Raj, come on, you must agree with me, yeah? That when you're eating a good curry, and come on, you must agree with me as well, yeah? A good curry just keeps the doctor away, yeah? So no, seriously, just think about the soups. Think about broths. Think about just even foods like ginger, because ginger's warming for the body. Obviously turmeric as well, which is warming for the body. But eat them as foods. Don't shove them down as supplements too many times, because it can actually overheat your body. So you want to kind of be sensible about how you're having those foods. So, my tip would be that keep your food simple, easy to digest. Don't try to mix too many varieties, because, your body's, again, having to work harder. And then my other thing will be is to stick to regular meal times. And what that means is that if you are doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then have them at similar times every day, and try not to eat too late. So just keeping that in mind is really important. Really important.
Yeah. People who don't know about nutrition, when people who don't know about Ayurvedic traditions, when you talk about hot and cold food, people think, oh, you mean salad, or you mean a mixed grill. Yeah. That's not what you mean by hot and cold. So do you want to just explain a little bit about that, what you mean by hot and cold foods? And are those the two types, or is there more types than that? when it comes to
Yeah,
this
I
sort of thing?
mean, yes, there's more types, yeah. But if I do the most simplest part, which is foods that are warming, so for example, ginger will support digestion because it stimulates digestion, it heats the body up, it heats the digestive system up. Um, and so, you know, when you have a symptom or a disease that needs some warming in your body, ginger's a great thing to have. Or things like chili peppers are quite heating for the body.
Yeah,
Spices are quite heating for the body. Things like coriander's cooling for the body. So you know, we'll use coriander. I mean, we use these spices in our food regularly
yeah,
every day, but we use small amounts. Okay, so when I'm talking about using them therapeutically, um, I'm thinking about helping you treat certain ailments within
yeah,
yourself. So, for example, you know, when you have a cold or you have a fever or a flu, um, the first thing that I would go for is my turmeric tea with some ginger, some black pepper, and I want to start to burn the fever out. I want to be able to wash them, flush that out. Okay. Would I do that every day? Would I have my turmeric tea every day? No, because I know that me personally, because of the way I work and my body constitution, can actually move to become too dry or too heated. So for me
right,
to have things like ginger tea or turmeric tea every day may actually lead me to go the other direction. So I would only have that when I need it, when my body needs it, um, and I would use that therapeutically. Yeah.
mm,
Another thing, coriander. So coriander is very cooling. So ladies, any of you ladies out there, you know, sometimes when your menstrual cycle is on override, and what I mean that is that you're bleeding too much, having coriander seed tea will start to cool you down. Okay, so it will help in stabilizing and rebalancing that part of the system. Would you do that all the time? No, you should do it when your body needs it. Because I think we've talked about this last week, is
yeah,
when you start to use these herbs and spices and foods like a superfood, and we start to, I say we start to abuse it, you're knocking your body out of balance in a different direction. And that's really what I
yeah,
mean. I'm going to just keep it as simple as cold foods and warm foods. They go into
yep,
different aspects of. You've got astringent, bitter foods. You wouldn't have bitter foods all the time, okay?
mm,
From a therapeutic perspective. So you just want to be careful about having that balance in your diet and using foods the way I believe they should be used. So
yeah,
if I was to go back to from an adrenal stress perspective, is to start to, you know, go back to making your food simple. And what I mean by simple is that don't mix too many things. Don't mix, you know, you don't want to have uh, all varieties in one meal. Okay,
mm,
so in traditional Ayurveda, you would look at making sure that you didn't overload your proteins and your carbohydrates because you do quite different. You require different enzymes to break that
yes,
down. Um, so it's just been really going back to being a bit smart and sensible about food. But I tell you something. I mean, this is. I think some of us need to relearn, and I was the first one that I put my hand up, is to relearn um, how to eat and what to eat, and not to take it so um, as such as a matter of fact anymore, because I think um, just in the way we've been living and our habits and what we see on TV, and what we are led to believe about diet, especially on TV, is I think it just makes us overeat, overindulge, eat eat foods that are at the season. And I'm not saying you never ever do this. I'm just saying predominantly we need to start to go back to eat with the cycles of winter,
Yeah.
summer, spring, autumn.
Thousands of years of only living off what we had, and that's what the body,
Yeah.
I guess, has adapted to. And then we're spoilt for choice now. And I think it's one of the people, I forget who it is, talking about calories per mile as well. As hunters, we didn't have everything. We didn't have the corner shop open 24/7. We didn't have sweet foods available all the time. These things. Just on the hot, this is on the hot and cold stuff. What happens if you start mixing them then? Because I've been guilty of this. I've been told, if someone goes, "Oh, ginger's good for you if you're sick." Okay, I'll have the ginger. And turmeric, all right, I'll have that. And coconut oil, all right, I'll have that. And lemon, all right, I'll have that. And and coriander's good. All right, well, I'll have that. And I'll just throw it all into a soup. And then, what happens when you start doing that? Really, that kind of a little bit of knowledge. You're just trying to just throw it all together. Somehow it will triple the effects if you do it all at once. What's your experience on that?
Look, I think if you've never done it before and you start it, and this happens to a lot of people who change their diet to become vegan or paleo or vegetarian or whatever it is, okay? Initially, a diet change will have a result on your body, okay? It's going to change something in your body. So initially, people will see a difference, and that's great. What happens long term, and whether it is sustainable for you I think that's the thing. Is it sustainable long term? And I don't think one thing is sustainable long term. As we move through life, I think our diet should change as we move through life. I would love to eat what I ate when I was in my teens and get away with it. I'm not trying to program that your metabolism changes or anything like that, but we do change, right? And I think we need to adopt. Adaptation is what the stress response is about, right? I think everything is about adaptation, and I think we need to adapt as we move through life, through certain situations. And if we can realize that what I'm eating now may change what I need to eat in 10 years' time, or 5 years' time, or 2 years' time, or even in summer, in 6 months' time.
So how can you monitor that? How can you sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, how can you monitor that? How can you check in and know what you're leading and what you're lacking, and where you need cooling foods or hot foods? What would you suggest? Obviously doing the 8-week course is the first answer, but specifically, what can be done in that simple things to test?
I've just had a little bit of a deja vu. I think I was talking to someone about this earlier today. I think the first step, no, it wasn't. Somebody on another live was talking about this. I think the first step is to start to recognize what your body is saying, okay? And what I mean by that is that don't be dumbed down to the symptoms that your body is giving you. And that may be, the symptom may be low energy, that's a symptom. A symptom may be hyperactivity, unable to get your mind to rest, a symptom may be a little bit of bloatedness, a symptom may be a little bit of pain here and there, okay? So, really start to tune in to what is going on in your body. That would be initial first step. And if your body's giving you those signals, when I went to Life Mastery a few decades ago, that was one of the first things I learned, and that was that your body gives you symptoms in different variations, and they were called feathers, bricks, and trucks. Yeah, and the feathers are
Okay,
those little
nice. I
aches and
like that.
pains
Yeah.
here
Okay.
and there. And
Yeah.
or a little bit of mild tiredness, and the bricks were things like migraines, or
Yes.
just coming home and just wanting to sleep without having any energy to do anything in the evening. And the trucks were the disease states, whether that was diabetes, cancer, autoimmune condition. Now that's so much on the rise. And but the thing is,
Yes. Yeah.
if you would pick up those signals when the feathers were tickling, that's when really you can start to change things. And food is
Yes.
one area that
Yeah.
we need to just kind of observe. And so if you're
Uh-huh.
saying, well, what should be the signals? Number one, be aware of those feathers, bricks, and trucks. Yeah, those signs. Number two, think
Yeah.
about the foods that you're eating consistently. Okay, if you're eating the same foods like day in, day out, and I'm talking about over a significant period of time, then and you're not getting variety in the sense of I'm not talking about variety in one meal, but I'm talking variety over a period of time. Then think about someone came to me today and said, "Oh, I've got all cracks, the peeling around my fingernails." Yeah, okay, that's a sign of possibly B vitamin deficiency. Okay, well, can I get some cream to make that better? And I said, well,
Yes.
yeah, but that's not going to make
But
it better. Yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah.
just
It's not dealing with the root of it. Yeah.
it's not dealing with it. So simple things like, look at your nails. Yeah. Do you have any white marks on your nails? Do you have any ridges on your nails? Simple things. Do you have, your, black rings around your eyes? Yeah. Because that's, people say that's tiredness. Yeah, that is, but it's also a sign of food intolerances. And there's a great thing, guys. If you've got, this is the only thing I like about the Sony phone, the Samsung phone, is that if you want to know how a particular food is affecting you, there's a thing that you can do, which is a pulse test, yeah? And a pulse test is check-in, and in Ayurveda, obviously we do this quite a lot in checking the rhythm of the pulse. Well, you can sit there and count, but sometimes we can count wrong. But on the Samsung, you have a pulse checker, and all you do
Oh, okay.
is you
I
check your
didn't know
and you check what is the reading. And if you've eaten something that doesn't agree with your body is gonna pump your blood harder, okay? And you'll see your pulse rate rising. And I can put details of the figures that you want to look out for, but you will see if anything goes above 83 and you've eaten them, and you'll feel the difference anyway. But you will see that your body is working hard now to digest this food.
Yes.
It's obviously going to happen if you've eaten too much as well, okay? Because your body's now having to, you've taken it into overwhelm, and it's now having to deal with this overload of food, or it's trying to deal with this type of food that really hasn't agreed with you. Obviously, food intolerance testing is the best way to really identify what's not right for you. But if you just wanted some simple ideas and see what's working, what's not working for you, that would be a good way of understanding how your body's coping with what you've eaten.
When it comes to emotions, the thing I use, which is I guess a more complicated version of that, but I guess that would be the simple one, is called the HeartMath, called EM Wave. It's from HeartMath Institute. And do you know about it? And so what we have our pulse, which is obviously we've known about for years, which is the pump of the heart. But then we have the micro signals, which tell us what they call coherence, but it's basically how I guess calm, relaxed, how in the zone we are, how stressed we are, and it can tell us all those things. And it's very similar. You can just test how stressed someone is by tying them by putting them to the HeartMath machine, and you can get a plug-in for phones, for smartphones, and you can get a portable one. I tend to use the laptop one. It's a really good tool. And there's even like computer games, biofeedback device, and there's even computer games you can get. So, you know, for children that are used to pounding the keyboard or pounding the joystick, you know, and getting stressed all the time, this is a game that they learn to win by learning to relax, center themselves, to be specific. So that's, I find that really useful with that. I mean, what you were saying about, what was it again? Feathers, bricks, and trucks. Was that the analogy? I like that, because one of the things I often say with clients again is you know, one of the measurements is go, okay, you know, how strong is the anxiety right now? It's a 9, it's a 6, it's a 2, and it's not, you know, it's not completely accurate, but it's a good idea to know what direction you're going in. And what most people do is they wait till they're at an 8 or a 9 before they'll try and do anything. They'll go, I can push it away, and then it's at a 9, and then they'll try and do a process, but they're already at a disadvantage because they're already in overwhelm. And you know, I think I used the analogy before. It's a bit like when you don't feel good about yourself and you look in a mirror, you go, oh, I feel awful, go to the chip shop. If you look in the mirror and feel good, you'll go to the gym. When you need these things the most, or when you use them the least. So don't wait till it becomes, you know, till you're being hit on the head with it effectively. You know, acknowledge it is what we're saying at the beginning. Acknowledge where your feelings are, acknowledge what you're thinking, and just work on it. Because the more you try and hide from it, the more you try and avoid it, that's when it will suddenly creep up on you, and suddenly you're being overwhelmed. So that would be the key with any of these sort of breathing or changing your emotions.
Yeah, and you know, another thing on that is just understanding that this too shall pass. That
yes,
you know,
absolutely.
what you're experiencing and feeling, it too one day will pass, and you'll look back and wonder why, wonder what you were, wonder why you were feeling stressed, and just realizing.
To quote my old mom. To quote my mom, when it's raining, people think never plan for it not to rain, and when the sun's out, they never plan for it. They don't think the sun's going to end. So you know, they don't sell many umbrellas when the sun's out, and they don't sell many shorts when when it's raining. And it's a bit like that when you're in the problem. Like all emotions, certainly the height of it will drop off very quickly if you don't try and battle it, if you don't try and fight it or ignore it, you just be with it. Then actually these feelings drop very quickly, just like hunger. You know, if you overeat, one of the things is that you aren't comfortable with being hungry. But of course, you can't stay at a 10 for hunger for very long, because then you get distracted and other things go on. So realizing that it will go down is important, which is different than trying to battle with your mind, battle with yourself, which is a lot of people do when they're stressed or anxious.
Yeah. I've been using meditation quite a bit. I've been meditating for quite a while now. But I just find that the more and more I get into doing it as a regular ritual, the better the results that I get in my clarity and thinking, in just being able to, I get more done. I just get more done by spending that time.
And this is the thing, people, when they're busy, they don't want to take the time. Yeah. But when you can, you'll get more done in the long run. It's like not letting yourself rest as well. So you don't let yourself sleep because you think you're too busy, and then your productivity is through the floor. But if you just give yourself that extra, whatever it is, to rest and recover, you'll get a lot more done. So any questions, guys, so far?
Daniela loves Indian food. Yep, you're in there, girl.
Good.
I love Indian food too. And Pushpa's going a bit crazy with her Indian dokra, jalebi, mithai. I need to have a word with you. There's some of those things in there that need to come out.
Yes.
Mana loves chili chutney. And Raj, definitely, he loves cooking and he loves eating that food.
We need to do. So I think a spin-off would be healthy Indian cooking. I could see there's obviously a market for that right now. So
Hey,
that could be, you could have your own little cooking segment. I think it'd be good.
Traditional Indian food, yeah,
Traditional, yeah.
And come on, guys, all my Indian friends out there, vouch for me. Traditional Indian food, seriously, has been well thought. Yeah, if you, there was things that my mom used to say to me when we were young, not just to me, to all of us. And in Ayurveda, you've got the Vata, Pitta, Kapha, okay, and they used to say to us, we grew up with this language. So if you eat that, that's gonna heat you. We say, oh, that will be garam, which is it's gonna heat you up. Or if you eat that, that's gonna give you vayu. Vayu is wind. Yeah, wind is gas. Yeah. Okay. So the food, when we're preparing the food. When we're preparing the food, there's certain spices, herbs that we will use that counteract the vata part, counteract the different heat tendencies. And you go to an Indian person's house and you'll see where they're cooking traditional food. You'll see that their kitchen will have the spices all laid out in the right way, and yeah. The more we can do that, the more we can get back to that, not just with Indian food, but just everyone spending a bit more time making their own food rather than getting takeaways. We'll get a lot more wellness back in the body. Definitely. I'm happy to do an Indian cooking session.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Maybe, as a bonus, I think that would be fantastic. So, guys, we're going to be running an 8-week webinar series starting I think it's the 1st of March or the 4th of March or whatever it is. Anyway, I'll have a link which we'll place into this. I don't know how to do it all the same because I have to do this from the phone, but we'll add that link in. And basically, we're going to cover pretty much what we're doing here, but obviously in more detail. We're going to talk about tools for managing stress and anxiety. We're going to talk about specific things to focus on, specific nutrition, and that kind of thing. Any questions so far? Any questions, guys?
Well, there's a few takers for the Indian cooking session. Yeah. Talk about food and make everyone right.
Everyone's got hungry. We want to be.
Love to hear.
I do want to be clear. We're not talking about Indian takeaway. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, definitely not. If you have any questions, if you've enjoyed any part of this, if there's any, we're going to be back here next Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember what we said. Yeah. But we'll be back
soon. I think it's Tuesday, actually. Oh, I don't know, actually.
Tuesday?
We'll check that.
Yeah. We'll be back here talking more about techniques or tips that you can use to help your emotional state and your physical state handle stress better. If there's specific things that you would like us to cover, please add some comments here, and we will be back next Tuesday or Wednesday. We once we've synced our diaries. I don't think it's Tuesday, but let's just check that out.
I hope it is. I think Tuesday's better for me, but we'll chat about that anyway. We'll leave a message for the next one in the comments once this is uploaded.
100%.
Once it's no longer live with
us. Cool.
Okay, it's been great. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and we shall see you next week. Take care. Bye.
See you next week. Bye. Bye.